Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. As today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams off season so far. As today we got the Minnesota Wild ahead of us, as we're going to be talking about their pretty crazy off season where they made some big moves, mostly moves that were dealt with the cap, because they are very tied up against the cap, especially with having the Parise and Suter buyouts combined up to $12 million this year, and next year being a painful $14 million in the next 2 years. So they're going to be pretty tied up against the cap and not have a whole lot of spending. But I gotta say, with how much they really don't have a whole lot of cap, they did really well and made a lot of smart moves, which let's get right into it. But before I do, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated there, boys. So let's get into talking about this. And one more last thing as well I like to talk about as well is that I officially have channel memberships now on the channel, so you guys can officially become members. We got tons of them. We got 3 tiers. The small boys, which you could get to be joined in on member only live streams. You also get the emotes, which I made some exclusive ones for the memberships, and they look absolutely amazing. If you want to see them, go on the community tab or on the Discord. I'll be posting them on the Discord server as well, so make sure to go check that out. We also got the big boys, which you get some early access to some of my new videos and exclusive member videos as well. And then you got the biggest of boys, which you get member shoutouts and a name in the description as well, because that is just a legendary tier without a doubt. So you guys don't have to. You guys can always watch my content for free, and the early access videos won't decline any of the videos that you guys will see. You still will see a lot of them, but for maybe like 1 or 2 exclusive member only videos, but that's like the rare few. So let's get into talking about the Minnesota Wild's offseason after me advertising myself. Let's get into talking about the Wild and their offseason that they just had. And quite honestly, they had quite a busy offseason. They made a lot of big moves. Getting Fleury back on the team, trading away Talbot, Jacob Middleton being signed back to the team. But otherwise, they didn't really do very much else. Their team is very much the same, which honestly is not a bad idea. In retrospect, yeah, I think they would love to improve their team, but I think they're going to rely on the younger guys to kind of, take that next stride for them. And Marco Rossi, who you're probably going to be seeing a lot this year, and Matthew Baldy, who you're just going to continue to see more, who had just a fucking amazing season. I mean, Baldy, every time I seen that kid, I was like amazed with how good he was looking. And there's still a lot of, young players, Kalen Addison, like their prospect core is looking really good. So I guess let's just get into the very first thing, and that was their draft, which they had a pretty good draft. They got Liam Ogren, who is a big goal scoring winger, played really good in the junior, the under 20s there in the SHL. Put up 58 points in 30 games. Didn't do too great in the SHL, but I think that was mostly because he wasn't getting a whole lot of minutes, and that's what happens with a lot of the younger guys. They don't get a whole lot of minutes, so they get kind of thrown down there. Really did really well in the Olympic Gretzky Cup. Didn't do too well in the World Juniors there for the Swedish team, but did really well in the Olympic Gretzky Cup. But I think that's like back to back basically. So a lot of hockey there for Ogren, but really good looking prospect. Not amazing. I wouldn't say as amazing as this Yurov guy. This Yurov guy was supposed to be drafted up in the top 10, but a big thing was his contract with the KHL was kind of a concern. And I think with getting this guy, helps out with Kaprizov a little bit as well. Like, it's kind of like that Russian effect. Once you have one Russian on the team, majority of the time, a lot of other Russians will kind of follow. And you might have the same effect with Daniel Yurov. The guy is insane. He has a good shot, really good skater. I think this is a really good player for the Wild to pick up here in this situation with their second first-round pick that they got. Really good pick. Another guy that I really liked as well was Servac Pavlovsky. He played really good there for the OHL. The Owen Sound attacked, looked really good, and played pretty well in the World Juniors as well. 3 points in 4 games there for Slovakia. Is another really exciting player. I think a lot of Minnesota fans should be excited about with their last pick there as well. And David Spacek didn't look too bad, but really in general, really good draft here for the Minnesota Wild, continuing to bolster their their team up with picks. And I think that's a big thing. They had a decent amount of picks, and you want to try to get as many good players as you possibly can. And the Wild are doing exactly that. They're building up a really good prospect system. And especially for a team that's been in the playoffs basically every single year since Bill Guerin has taken over, that is really, really impressive. You know, like last year they got, who was it? Jesper Wallstedt and Carson Lambos up in the 20s. Like two great picks. You know, the year before, the first pick, they got Marco Rossi and, you know, some other great picks with Marat and also Ryan O'Rourke. Just in general, Bill Guerin and his staff has done a great job drafting, and I really do respect what the Minnesota Wild are doing. I've always been a big fan of the Wild. I've always been feeling like they should get a good GM, and they really do got one in Bill Guerin, who's just been absolutely fantastic here for the Wild. So we'll move into the trades here. He only made 2-1s, which we already talked about this in the last episode of reviewing teams, was the Kevin Fiala move, where I said that the Minnesota Wild definitely didn't win this deal, and I still don't think they do. In retrospect, you look at it, and Brock Faber, good defenseman, but I don't think he's going to be, you know, amazing. He'll be your shutdown defenseman, probably your 4th, 5th type of guy. Liam Ogren's going to be a middle of the lineup, most likely a kind of a top 9, maybe middle 6 type of guy. So in comparison to Kevin Fiala, what he is right now, goal scoring, but you look at it, you say, yeah, the Kings win this deal without a doubt. This is easy. But in Wild, they had no, you know, bargain. You know, they said, you know, they couldn't sign the guy. They had no cap. Like right now, they only have 4.3. And without Fleury and, you know, what's his face, Middleton, they would have just had enough to sign Fiala, and that's it. Nobody else. So you would have been taking a big risk on that fact. So honestly, this was a really good move, I think, for the Minnesota Wild on trading away Kevin Fiala. It's a big loss in the fact that they didn't get enough assets out of it. I still think Brock Faber is going to be a nice addition to their defense core in the future, but definitely not a move that was fantastic. Now, this is another move I really liked, is trading away Cam Talbot for Philip Gustafsson. Now, Cam Talbot, I've always been a big fan of him. You know, he played for the Edmonton Oilers there for a bit. I was always a big fan of him. But he's just kind of an all-right goalie. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be able to carry you. You know, he was wanting to be a starting goalie, wanted to play 50, 60 games. But honestly, Cam Talbot's not that type of guy. You know, he's not going to be able to play, you know, 50, 60 games per season like what Marc-Andre Fleury will be able to do with you. And that's just the bottom line. Cam Talbot is a good goalie, but, you know, picking him up for a very, very young goalie in Philip Gustafsson, who has showed some great upside that could be an amazing goalie in the future, that is an amazing move. You know, goalies take a while to develop, and he'll probably be another 2 years out before he's ready. But guess what Minnesota Wild did? They signed Marc-Andre Fleury to a 2-year contract. And I think that's brilliant. You know, you have now a good tandem of Fleury and Gustafsson, where Gustafsson could probably give you a good, you know, solid 20, 25 games, and Fleury could play, you know, the 50, 60 games that he needs to play and be that starting goalie for the team. And, you know, Cam Talbot, he wanted to be a starting goalie. Now he could go off to Ottawa and do that type of stuff. And I think this is going to be a really good tandem here for the Minnesota Wild. I really do like the move. I really do like Gustafsson as a goalie. I think he has some really good upside. I was always really impressed with the way that he looked, especially when we had the whole Canadian division thing. I was a really big fan of him. This past season, he had a rough, you know, year, 892, 3.55 goals against average. But I think he'll play better in front of a better defensive core as well here in the Minnesota Wild. So I really, really do like the move of picking up a younger goalie for a goalie that, you know, had more of a contract. You didn't have to trade anything else. Amazing move here by the Wild. So we'll get into the signings, which they didn't, you know, sign too many people. Goligoski, but that was way back at the deadline. So the only 2 signings that we really got to talk about here is Jacob Middleton, who they got to a 3-year, $2.45 million contract, which I absolutely love this move. I think Middleton's the type of defenseman you would really love to have. He's going to be a perfect guy, like Cap Friendly showing here, to throw him up alongside of Spurgeon. You know, Spurgeon's a great two-way guy, great puck-moving guy, but with Middleton, he's just your solid shutdown defenseman who's going to go out there, you know, get some minutes. He's going to be that shutdown guy, play really good on the PK. Not going to generate you a whole lot of offense, but he's going to be really, really well defensively. And I really like that pickup here for the Minnesota Wild. I loved when they picked him up in the deal, and, you know, able to sign him back on a really nice deal as well was amazing. Getting Fleury back on the team as well, I thought was really nice as well. 3.5 for 2 years, not a bad deal when Fleury's been throwing up some respected years over the past few years. Sure, he does play a lot better when he's getting, I think, a little bit less games, but even then, he's still, playing really well. He's had some ups and downs type of seasons. He's kind of an up and down type of goalie, and I think you might be seeing a little bit of an up year here by Fleury, especially with how good of a defensive system the Minnesota Wild have, and you can especially see his numbers went up a little bit when he got picked up by the Wild as well. So really good move here by the Wild, and that's about it. They got some depth guys in Susser and Patan, which are nice moves, but that was really it. They didn't really make a whole lot of other moves. I think they're mostly relying on a lot of their younger guys in the current core that they have now to really take them into the next season and see where they go. You might see a deal at like the deadline or something like that, but quite honestly, I really like the team that they have. They have some really good, breakout players that they've been able to get, like Hartman, who was a breakout player last year for them. He's just been fucking amazing. Frederick Gaudreau, who knew that? I mean, I kind of felt like this guy was going to be sick, like the way that I was seeing him. I think he was in Pittsburgh, right? His stats in Pittsburgh were absolutely amazing. I felt like this was going to be a steal of a pick last year, and he absolutely was. He just played to my expectations and played really well for the Minnesota Wild. So just some great moves here by the Wild this past offseason, keeping what they have going and, taking it into the next year. I think that's what you have to kind of do, You're a type of team that's really, cap strapped for the next few years, so just try to ride it out as much as you can. It's going to put you in a better situation buying those two guys out so you can have some more mobility and not have to worry about playing either Suter or Parise in your lineup, right? Because, you most likely would have had to play those guys in the lineup, and they just weren't fitting in this type of style that they were playing. So that is it. I'm going to give this team, quite honestly, I really like their offseason. The only bad move that they did make was Kevin Fiala. So honestly, I'm going to give him an E-. A-. Can I speak English, please? And thank you. I really like their offseason. I think, like I said, the only bad move that they made was the Fiala move. The draft was pretty good. The Middleton signing was amazing. The Fleury signing was amazing. The trade for Goffson, I would have to say, is also amazing. So honestly, I'm giving this team an A-. I really like the moves that Bill Guerin did. I really liked what he did with the Minnesota Wild, and I'm really excited to see what he'll do this upcoming season, and maybe there might be one more move. I don't know. We'll have to see. But for now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, boys, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.